Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, I am celebrating 1 year on YouTube, and in the mood of celebration, I decided to just share some of the things I have learned. I'll be sharing 15 tips that I have learned during the 1 year that I have been doing YouTube. So before I go to the points, let me just give you a background story of how I began my YouTube journey. So last year, 2023, around April, I became a stay-at-home mom. I am an accountant, certified. I did that in campus as well. So I was working, but then we had challenges with house help, so I decided to stay home and take care of our baby, who was now at that time turning 6 months. So I started staying home. And when I stayed home for some time, I learned some routines that made me be able to finish house chores quite early. Sometimes even by 8, I'd be done with all the work. So with that, now I started wondering, what do I do with my time? And before I started staying home, I'd figured out I wanted to do business, and especially online. But when I started, I felt that wasn't it. So at this time, when I started being a bit idle, I was wondering, what do I do with my time? I also took a break a lot from a lot of things, and for 2 months I was just asking God, what do I do? And that is when this idea was born. That is when I was reminded of this idea that my husband had given me when we were newlyweds. He had told me, but for him, he wanted me to do it like a TV show around, back then during COVID. But I didn't really buy into the idea. I think it wasn't yet in me. So I didn't go for it. I just gave excuses. So now when I was staying home, I was like, by the way, we now have a camera. I have the time. Why don't I just start doing this? I'll be talking a little more on this in another video, but that is how this idea came. And around, I think, September, October of 2023 is when I started preparing, and then my first video went out in November 2023. So now as I shoot this video, it's been a year since I started posting on YouTube. And it's been amazing. I have seen a lot of growth. And so that's why I want to share with anybody who is desiring to start a YouTube channel, or you have begun but you've been on and off. How can you be consistent? All right. So that is all I'll be sharing. The first one is know your why. Why do you want to start a YouTube channel? Because it's not easy. It's not like an easy thing. Even the people who do it for entertainment, it's not always easy that you feel excited and creative and all. So if you don't know your why, when those challenges come along the way, you might give up. So why are you starting this? Is it because you want to impact people's lives? Or is it that you want to educate people on something? Do you want to maybe entertain people, or are you after money? Because your why will determine how you go through the journey, right? Because if you want money, you might have to probably push the things that are trending so that you may attract adverts, or attract an audience that will now bring adverts your way. If you're trying to inspire people, then you'll not just be looking at the money, right? You are trying to reach at least a few people that will be inspired by what you're saying. So know your why. Know your why. All right? Sit down and ask yourself, why do I want to do this? If you don't have a why, then there's no need to start. And that leads me to the next one, which is knowing your niche and your target audience. I know a lot of YouTubers who talk about how to grow on YouTube, talk about knowing your niche, and niche is basically one topic or an area of interest that you want to target, right? You might find, maybe like for me, my channel is mostly on relationships, dating, foundation in marriage. That is what I talk about in this channel. You might find someone else is talking about homemaking and all. But I believe it is important to know who your target audience is. Like for me, I know I don't just talk on relationships to everyone. No, for quite, I think for the first few months, I was just talking and thinking I'm talking to everyone. But over time, I've come to realize my target is actually Christian people, like Christian singles. And I've also realized, of course, there are other people who are not singles, but they still watch my content. But I have realized my target audience are Christians. So what is your target audience? Like, for example, let me give you a good example. There's a lady I really followed when I was starting that really helped me learn a lot. And for her, she was saying that when she was beginning, she was just talking, doing a lot of homemaking, giving a lot of homemaking ideas. And with time, she realized her target was actually working moms, because she is a working mom and she has children, she's busy, she has a business, and now she has a YouTube channel. So she realized her content would relate mostly with working, busy moms. And when she realized that, then now she started pushing her content that way, and then it attracted working moms to her channel, which brought growth. So know your target audience beyond knowing the niche. And actually, like now this video that I'm doing, I know it is relevant to people who watch my content as much as they might be watching about relationships. I know a lot of people around the age that I target are people who might be interested in probably starting a YouTube channel. Not most of them, but some people could be interested in that. So also target audience helps you realize the challenges that people are going through, then you can talk about them in your channel. The other thing that helped me is knowing that you need to have a content plan. Now, content planning means before you start, you need to have at least written a few topics that you need to talk about. The one person I listened to that really helped me is they said you need to have 20 topics that you want to talk about in your channel before you start shooting your videos. That will help you know whether that is, whether whatever you have, the niche you have chosen is something that you can talk about in the long term. All right, so she said you should have like 20 topics, write them down, and then now start shooting the videos. And maybe now maybe for people who want to do podcasts and all, you can have 20 guests that you want to invite, because you might call people and they say, oh, I'm not okay being on camera, or they might say they're not available on the certain date that you wanted them to come. So you have at least 20 people that you can work with, right? So planning your content is important, because it's not always that you feel excited about talking. And sometimes you even, like when I was starting, after shooting a few videos, you start feeling the burnout and you're wondering, what do I even talk about? You know, whatever you're excited about talking, now you're not longer so excited about. And so when you have a list of topics, then that gives you an idea on what to talk about. So write down the topics you want to talk about. The other thing which is connected to content planning is have a schedule. So you need to know how many times do you want to post. Then you set time to record the videos, set time to do the editing, and set time to post. Because without a schedule, you'll always get to, maybe you wanted, like for me, and I used, when I was starting, I used to post on Fridays. So with that, if you don't plan well, you find yourself on Thursday without a video to post on Friday, right? Or you even get to Friday, you don't even have a video, or the video is there, but it's not edited yet. So having a schedule will help you plan before. Like for me, I would shoot on Wednesdays, and I know now with that, when I've done my video, that video, I've done the shooting on Wednesday, then, or recording, I know that video will be posted the next week on Friday. So because my husband does the editing, he has more than a week. So in case I'm not able to even shoot on Wednesday, I still have like more than a week to still shoot that video. That is why it is important to have time and have good time to shoot before posting, because things happen. There are times you might be unwell and all, which leads me to the next point, which is prior preparation. Before you post your first video, you need to have recorded at least 4 videos, especially if 4 videos for someone who wants to start posting once a week. That is what I did. So I had 4 videos recorded before we posted my first video. That way, because of course when you're starting, you don't know how this will go, and sometimes you might miss shooting and all. So having 4 videos in advance gave me a month to just get the momentum, you know. And another thing, like we had to reduce some videos because some videos by mistake they were deleted, and like our first videos had really terrible sound. If you go back to my very first video, the sound was very terrible. So we had to redo some of the videos. But now I've had some videos before gave us time to go back and still shoot and continue with the momentum. So have at least, if you're going to be posting weekly, have at least 4 videos, so that in case you're not able to shoot, you still have videos in place that you can post. And that will give you some time to get the momentum of shooting every single week. The other thing, when you're starting, use what you have. Use what you have. I've had this said a lot by people who talk about growing on YouTube, and I have come to agree that it is true. Use what you have. If you have a good phone, you don't have to buy a camera. Use that phone, right? Like for us, when we were starting, we had a camera, but the batteries were faulty. So like our first video was only 4 minutes because we didn't think that battery could go more than 4 minutes, right? So we just did a 4-minute video, and that was it. And we still don't have lights. You know, we still don't have lights, so I have to shoot during the day. Like now, I'm just using the sunlight. So you don't have to make it complicated. You don't have to get all the equipments. Even for this microphone, when I was starting for the first like several months, almost like I think past 6 months or so, we did not have a microphone. I would just shoot with just the camera and me seated, and that's it. Using what you have. All we had was a camera with a faulty battery. And that is what I began with. Now we bought nice batteries. I was gifted a microphone by my brother, and we are growing. Along the way, we will now be able to buy lights, and I can shoot even at night. So start with what you have. If you just have a nice camera, do with that. If you have a nice phone, use that. Use what you have. That way you don't have to make it complicated, and you don't have to get equipment that you might not even know how to use, or you don't go for equipments that you may never even use because they might make the whole process complicated for you. Which leads me to the next one, is make it simple. Like I've said, we began with just a camera, and I would just sit in our living room, which is where I still sit today. 1 year later, sit and I've made it as simple as possible. I don't have any special outfits. I don't do very complicated makeup. Sometimes I might look like I don't even put any makeup, because I'm also learning how to do simple makeup to appear on the camera. This is something I had started learning just before I began my YouTube channel. So just making it as simple as possible. That way I'm even able to record myself. For quite some time I would record myself. I didn't need my husband. Once he showed me how to set the camera, I would set it because it's so simple. Just put it in front of me, put it on, sit down and record, and then he would do the editing. So make it as simple as possible. Sometimes you might buy equipments that you'll never use because they are too complicated. They make the process so complicated. Before you even start shooting, you're even feeling stressed. You start thinking, oh my goodness, you know, all that. Maybe you have to go look for a very fancy venue and all. if you have the money and the know-how to do that, that's fine. But when you're starting, if you can just use the simplest venue, the better for you. All right, like for me, I just sit in our living room and that's it. Simple, no complications. All right, I don't have to travel. I don't have to use any money. The other one is ask for help and also learn. I've said, like, for the camera, I had to know how to, zoom and get clarity and all that. I had to learn because I had not operated a camera before. But then on editing, I didn't know how to edit. So my husband came in to help me with editing, which I am now learning. I'm now learning so that I may be able to ease the burden on him, because my husband is a full-time employee, so he works full-time. So my videos are just something he does for me on the side. So just to ease that burden on him, I am also learning how to edit. But I have asked him for help. So if you know someone who can help you, maybe recording, or you don't know how to record, you don't know how to use the camera, or you need someone to hold the camera for you, like for the people who do recipes. By the way, I started doing recipes on my other social media handles, and my goodness, doing recipes is work. Hey, you need someone to hold that, because I use my phone to hold the phone for you, and like, if you need help, just ask. But if there are things that you can learn, like the way I'm now learning how to edit, something as simple as looking at the camera, that is something you have to learn. I didn't think it was something that someone needed to learn until I started looking at people's videos, and I realized there are people who have not yet learned how to look at the camera and talk to the camera, right? So learn as much as you can. The other thing is choose a long-term thing. YouTube is not something that you want to do for short term, okay? So you have to choose a passion or something connected to your purpose, because if it's not something that you can do maybe for 1, 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then I don't think there is need to start and stop. So if you want to do YouTube, sit down and think. What I actually, even for me, I had 2 things in mind. There are 2 ideas that I got that time that I took a break and just started talking to God and getting to know what He wants me to do. I got 2 ideas. One of the ideas I put in a book. The other idea is what I am now doing in this channel. So because I felt the other idea is not something that I would be able to talk about in a year or 2 or 3, right? But what I'm now doing is something I know I can evolve with. I can talk about and talk with people, and maybe even invite people to talk about for long term. So think around something that you are passionate about. You can show up day in, day out, day in, day out. And by the way, how to know is, most importantly, if there's someone that you are serving. Even if it's entertainment, if people can be entertained by looking at your content and debrief maybe in the evening after work, and they are able to feel relaxed when they are watching your content, then that is something that, when you know someone is benefiting from what you're doing, you can be passionate about it, all right? And also, when it comes to passion, it's something that you can do without being paid. Because honestly, like a year later, I'm not even anywhere close to being monetized, right? But I am still doing it because it's something I am passionate about, something I can do without being paid. Which leads me to the next point, which is, it is a marathon, not a sprint. YouTube the growth can be slow but steady if you remain consistent. It might be very slow but steady. Like for my case, as I shoot this, I'm not even at 200 subscribers. I'm almost there, but I'm not yet there. So I know, because it's a long-term thing, I'm not discouraged, and it is something I'm passionate about. It's something I can do without being paid. Honestly, if I was just here for the money, I don't think I would manage for a whole year when you're not being paid and you're putting in effort. you're showing up every week and making sure that videos are out. And honestly, even hitting 100 subscribers took a long time, man. It took a long time. You know, even sometimes you can post 2-3 videos and you don't even have one more subscriber and you're still showing up. So it is a marathon. When I know that when I was starting, I knew this is a long-term thing and it is a marathon. So in a marathon, you go slowly but steady. Slowly but steady. I know in Kenya people run, and mostly Kenyans run the marathon races, right? So you can see they start with slow momentum, slow, but steady. That is what helps them to go a long distance. So you have to know so that you don't get discouraged. By the way, it's very easy to get discouraged. Maybe when you start your video the first time, you've shared with friends and family, they might watch, and your first video looks like, hey, you have so many views. Wait until you get to the 4th video and people are not watching. You can get discouraged, or you might start with just the first video and you don't even get views. Now I was actually listening to someone who was saying, until you get to your 100 number 100 video, you don't need to be worried, right? And I know, like, for my long videos, this is like my 52nd or 53rd video. I've done a lot of shorts maybe in the last 2 months, but long videos I've done like maybe just slightly above 50. So I know I'm not yet there. I'm still growing. So that guy was saying, don't even worry. Your first videos might not get views. And I've come to just admit it is true. It takes time to grow on YouTube. So if you want to start, be prepared psychologically. Don't think that the whole world is waiting to watch you, unless you already have a huge following in another social media platform, where now viewers from that platform can now watch you on YouTube. But if you don't have that, please, if you're not a celebrity, you are just starting off, just know it goes slowly but steady. The other thing I have learned is research. When I was starting off, actually, like the better part of my year, I have just been sharing points from my head and what I have learned along the way, things I have observed. But I think the last 2 months, let's say a month and something, I discovered that I needed to go beyond that. I needed to research on what I want to post, on the videos I want to share. So beyond what I have in my heart and beyond what I have thought about, I then go ahead online and check and see whether what I'm sharing is relevant. I also talk to my husband and ask him, what do you think about the content? You know, beyond what I have in my head, I also go and check. I also started researching, like I got to learn like a month ago about ChatGPT, which has really helped me with figuring out hashtags, because all we would post is like 3 hashtags or 4 in a video. And hashtags are so important in helping a video be recommended, right? Because it's based on SEO. So I just started checking on ChatGPT, and I go there and look for hashtags for my videos, right? So researching, going to the analytics and looking at, there's normally the YouTube studio, there's the part for analytics, then there's also a place where they give you inspiration for content related to what you post. So that also gives me ideas on what is relevant at the moment, right? So researching and going online and getting to see what is happening and what is related to what I talk about in my channel. That leads me to the next point, which is continuous learning. Now that research that I've just said, it is out of continually being connected and learning from other YouTubers, all right? So even about something as simple as being energetic, because there are times when I wouldn't be energetic because it's draining at times, even showing up every week. And that I am a mom and the other things I am doing. So at times it's not as exciting, right? But just learning that for every video I need to be energetic, which is also something I am learning. I'm also learning how to edit and learning from other people in my niche, because I talk about marriage, relationships and all. I also look at a lot of videos on the same. I listen to a lot of podcasts on the same, not to copy the people who are talking about these things online, but to get inspiration. All right. So I'm not saying that you now go and look at other people and start copying their content. No. Continuous learning, especially on your niche, you need to see what other people are doing, especially people who are ahead of you, and or people along maybe your peers, and just seeing what they are talking about and how they do it, and then you can learn from them and be inspired. And also another thing I learned from someone else on YouTube is, for your niche, you can go to the comment section of the people you are following and see the things their followers ask about, because that will give you challenges that these people are going through. That gives you inspiration for your own content, because if people are continually asking about a certain topic, then it means that topic has not been exhausted. It's not been talked about exhaustively. So now you can talk about that in your channel, which will help other people learn from you. So also learning from people's comment sections, and that is not about the niche only. I listen to a lot of inspirational videos. By the way, when I'm doing house chores, because I'm mostly at home, as I do my house chores, I'm normally listening to something, either a sermon, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to maybe sometimes a book, you know. So I have to be inspired. It's not just about the topic I talk about, but I have to feed myself so that I am inspired, so that I'm able to inspire other people. So you have to have continuous learning, and not just in your niche, but generally. You have to also learn. Like I have had to learn a lot on how YouTube, how you can grow on YouTube. So some of these things I am now implementing, right? So you have to be ready to learn continuously. Even if the topic you want to talk about, you already know so much about, maybe you did it in school, or you have maybe been doing it at work, you have to continue learning from other people, because social media is so different from working in an office. It's so different from being in school. So this is also a new school. Right? So you have to continually learn and be engaged and hear from other people. The other thing which a lot of people talk about is being consistent. This is something I learned when I was starting, that you have to be consistent. And at first I was even scared that I might not make it to be consistent. And that's why I'm so excited that I've been consistently posting at least once a week for a whole year. Thank you for watching to the end. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe and help us grow, help us reach more people with this kind of content. If you have loved it, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. I would really appreciate to hear from you, and thank you so much for your support. God bless you, and see you in the next video.